Alright, those are your bills, 12 o'clock. First up on the agenda is you wanted to have a discussion on the music program.
First,
Yep.
well, on that music program, Jeff, I have some questions, I mean, in regards to about cutting it, and I was reading through Mark Newwich's email that everybody had got. Everybody had received his email. Okay, with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
2012, in 2012, the vocal music program was reinstated after a referendum was passed. Can you explain what that?
It was cut altogether prior to that.
Okay, so it was reinstated. Okay, so there was money available for that at that time?
Must have been. I wasn't here.
Okay. They started out with a dozen students in 2012, and they have 47 students so far this year, and I guess what, 4 are leaving, 4 seniors have graduated. I would encourage this board to really reconsider not cutting this program or finding funding for this. When I was going through all this that Mark Newich had sent me, in 2014, 2015, there was a full-time K-4 elementary instructor and 1 full-time 5 through 12 elementary and vocal instructor. And the K2 were receiving 60 minutes a week. Grade 3 are receiving 30 minutes a week, which is a third of what is recommended. Grade 4 and 6 are receiving 45 minutes a week, and there are no less. 7th graders received choir twice a week, first semester, and 3 days a week this semester. There are no lessons. If there are no lessons, there are fewer opportunities for the students to connect. And find and help them find ownership in their choirs. Okay. 7th and 8th grade choir, 45 of 51 students indicated that they would like to have lessons. 34 of 38 students want lessons next year. I feel that in reading this, it was stated that faculty is being compromised due to the extraordinary workload. I'm just concerned that if we overwork, we went from a 1.0, I guess, I'm learning all this, 1.0 to a 1.75 workload for Ms. Forsman, that if the workload becomes too much, I mean, I feel that, we could possibly not lose a teacher, but, I mean, it's unreasonable workload if that is the case.
Isn't our Dean of Students contract terminated at the end of this year, of the fiscal school year?
What's that?
The Dean of Students,
What about
he was hired up to the end of this school year, right? So that money now should be available as we're paying him, right? Shouldn't they give us some funding there? Oh? What were we paying him? Was it 60,000 or something, or 40,000?
Right, but that didn't go later. That
That's
individual
not-
was on a 1-year
It's
probation.
an ongoing position, right? I mean,
The Dean of Students is an ongoing position?
Mhm.
Well,
So we decide
I
otherwise.
just thought he filled your position. As a,
He's helping me out up there.
And we still
I'm
don't have
still-
that position filled. I mean,
okay.
until decisions are made and.
Oh, we're just talking about music, so we're talking about, okay, Jamie Lindsay said, we saved some pretty substantial money in insurance, we were able to save money, I need that money to bring over here to.
Well,
Can we deal with facts for a little bit?
So one of,
Why don't you just, I mean, if the administration may, can we just have their point of view of where the music program is through their lens, and maybe we can kind of get a culmination of he said, she said versus what they think it is, and, I mean, we got, you know, we hear in these rumors that a teacher's at a 1.75 FTE. I mean, is that reality? I mean, what's the logistics there? They're saying cuts, and it's not really cuts, a reduction due to student increases. We used to have a 7-section school, now we're about a 3.5 section school, you know, I mean, so there, obviously there's a reduction in student teacher time, and we have to reduce that accordingly with teachers. In the same sense, if we want to enhance the music program, is that logistically possible, adding more class time to kids that already have full coursework? You know what I'm trying to get there? I mean, what are the facts from the administration side of this conversation?
All right, so, a couple things. A few years ago, I'm talking 2 to 3 years ago, we started looking, the board told the administration to look at ways of reducing operating costs without affecting class size. That was a big one. So we started looking at things, and one of the things that came up was the music program. We were running separate 7th and 8th grade choirs, which is highly unusual in a school district this size. We were giving lessons, which is also highly unusual in any school. The reason that the lessons were there in the first place is when the music program was reinstated in 2012, we were unable to find a full part-time teacher because it was a part-time position. So those lessons were added in to make that position whole in order to be able to hire somebody. So after a retirement that happened, we were way overstaffed in music at that point. I mean, we went from, essentially in 2012, we went from a 4-section school in elementary to a 3 now. We only have one class left that has 4 sections. So right there, that's an automatic reduction of about 0.3 FTE, just off the top, that we were paying for that we weren't being used. So as far as that position going to a 1.7 and being overloaded, I guess I highly disagree with that. I put together a sample of what it would look like next year. You're going to acquire 7/8 over in Gilbert first hour. Every teacher is entitled to 45 minutes of prep time. There is, with travel time, and that doesn't have to be interrupted, by the way. There's a full hour, with the exception of Thursday, which the rest of it comes into play toward the end of the day. But you're looking at 45-minute sessions for most of your grades 2 and 4, 2 30-minute sessions for K and 1, because they don't want, those teachers don't feel like their kids can handle 45 minutes straight of music, so they split it up into 2 30 minutes. So everybody, so K and 1 is at 60 minutes. 2, 3, and 4 is at 45. There is actually, if I go all the way to the bottom, in the Franklin, we're dealing with about 855 minutes of time with that in mind. That position has a high school choir at the end of the day, a junior high choir at the front of the day. That equals 500 minutes a week for a total of 1355. Full-time, like if you were a full-time elementary teacher, it's 1525. So it's not, minute-wise, it's not at overload by any means. Here's the other aspect of it is, so if we look at a typical elementary teacher, you can see about 10 minutes in the morning, taking boots on, jackets and stuff off. They do little calendar, warm-up activities, pledge of allegiance, that kind of thing, till about 8:35. Then they go into math. We try to block off a straight hour of math. Then they take a little break. And then by state guidelines, I mean, we're supposed to be at about 90 minutes uninterrupted reading block, which, depending on which grade you're in, may or may not happen because of lunch. In this particular instance, it's a little shy of it. Then you have 45 minutes for lunch. They do about 15 in the lunchroom itself, about 20 in the lunchroom, and about 20 outside at recess. They come back, and here you have your specialist. Remember, every elementary teacher gets 45 minutes of prep time, which is what we use specialists for. So in this particular instance, you have 2 Phy-Eds, music, media, and computers. And a lot of that, I mean, it is, there's certainly recommended guidelines for all that. I mean, we're finally probably at a place where we're at guidelines for Phy-Ed. We haven't been. And that's largely due to the fact we try to keep people full-time nowadays. And we have a glut of Phy-Ed time, and we've managed to get that far. But even art itself, I mean, the classroom teacher gets to do some of it, but we don't have a specialist. So you have that 45 minutes a day, then you come back with spelling, snack, social studies, science, or art at the end of the day, and then it's time to go home. So I mean, if you add music time to that, for instance, where's it gonna go? I mean, if you're gonna add, something has to go. And the problem is right now, if something goes, someone's not full-time. And that's the reality of scheduling in a school our size. I mean, if you wanna add something somewhere, something has to go, because there is only an infinite number of minutes in a day. And this is kind of how it's played out for us right now, with the staffing that we have and the direction that the board wants us to go. So, I mean, if the board wants us to go in a different direction, we can certainly do that. But keep in mind for this coming year, 17-18, I mean, these things have already been put in place. I mean, they're set in stone.
Jeff, could you repeat on what is looking at for, I have K through 4 down, what's looking for 5th through 12, as far as
It's 45 minutes a day.
45 minutes a day?
Ms. Forsman, yes?
Am I allowed to speak today?
Why not?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I have not been apprised of this schedule yet as the person that represents one of the positions that you are discussing today, and the person that had lived through the schedule last year, the day-to-day workings of what was working and what wasn't working. This information is different than what I worked, than what's being presented today. Perhaps some of them are the same. I was not disclosed of this, and I'm not picking up Mr. Carey at all. With all due respect, I would have enjoyed having a conversation, and so maybe this is a proposal. I'm not quite clear on that.
Well, we're the ones that make the schedules for the school.
With all due respect, I had inquired if I could be a part of that conversation, and I was told I could be, to have an influence on or input from the music perspective of what would work best for our students. So I'm presenting that to you because the schedule and the reason the request came, and I'm speaking for myself, booster members are here that brought it to your attention, because this is not the schedule that was operating and in place at the time that the request came across the table. The schedule that was, I have brought with me today if you are interested
That was
in.
last year. I mean,
Right, and that's the timeline that we were requesting the conversation for. And so to see the difference.
It already happened, though. That's the only thing.
The difference is that we sat and wanted to share with you what had happened so that maybe this would make more sense. Maybe there is some places, and so if you are interested, I'm sorry I don't have enough copies with me today. I don't know, Mr. President, of the boosters, did you bring? Okay. This is the schedule that I operated under for the benefits of students. And just so you'd have a clear comparison of what did happen this past year, which is why things came to the school board's table, versus what is being presented to you today. I'm not disputing that there needs to be balance. I'm saying please look at the apples to apples then. This is where the request came from. And this is what's being asked to be looked at for next year. If you're interested, I would respectfully ask if some copy could be made for review. Because this was reality for our students. And what was added or missed during the last academic year.
Is this better?
In some
I mean,
ways.
you're just seeing it now, but is it
Yeah, I am.
better?
I'd have to look again because I'm a processor of things. I
Okay.
need time to look and think. If there is an improvement in minutes for students in the elementary, that's a good thing.
Okay.
The loss of choir lessons though, because I was hired to be a 512 vocal music instructor, and I understand that changes sometimes. Assignments change. But my ultimate focus is elementary begins the interest and the appreciation in music and the understanding of community and knowing what it takes to be a musician, those music fundamentals. But I also have to look down the road and say, where are these kids going to go? Not just to the band program, not just to the orchestra program, but there is a vibrant choir program here now. And part of that component needs to be the choir lessons where they've come and we introduced the fundamentals K through 4. Some more fundamentals based on the National Association of Music Education recommendations and the Minnesota State Standards expect more fundamentals to be practiced and introduced grades 5, 6, sometimes 7 and 8. But there are also vocal music fundamentals and the sense of citizenship and the sense of skill building and learning vocal performance techniques. Choir starts in 7th grade, elementary band starts 5th and 6th grade, orchestra 5th and 6th grade. They get lessons. 7th and 8th grade, we are working on our fundamentals in small groups because your voice is different than mine and we have to figure out how to blend together. We have to figure out the ear training, how to look at a piece of music with words and notes and splotches. For some kids, they look like splotches. And so that's where, when you look at vibrant programs, I don't care if it's instrumental, vocal, a drama group, it's an advanced science class. The foundation is built in the elementary. But then, allow that fundamental opportunity, the learning of the skills, to continue through the middle school years. So that when they get to those high school schedules, they get to those high school performance ensembles, they are ready to hit the road running. Instrumental has them. Could it possibly be respectfully considered that in some capacity, there could be an opportunity for the choir ones to return? And so when I look at that and you ask the question, is it reasonable? To some degrees, if the total number of minutes went up for K through 4, great. However, there is more to this picture than just an elementary position. And the question we are asking is, and I'm out of line because I'm not the president of the boosters group, but again, as the person that was in the trenches, those lessons are so vital so that when we can represent our school and say, hey, look, we're not just strong K through 4. We're not just strong in the band. We're not just strong in the orchestra. We're a K-12 music department representing our mighty Golden Bears. And those skills have to be allowed to be trained. Because think about it, adolescents, voices are changing. It's the toughest time to learn how to use your voice. And they go from a classroom of 22 to 25, they're used to working with, to all of a sudden, your voice and my voice have to sound the same. How are we supposed to do that when we sound like this? You know? And so that's the component that I understand completely, that tough decisions have to be made. At the same time, it cuts the vocal music program off at the knees to not recognize that lessons are essential. Would you send a band out and do a marching band routine in Florida, or would the pep band play at a basketball game without any practice? Would they go and say, here's your trumpet, go perform a solo at solo ensemble contest without learning the skills, which finger to press, which valve to push, how to blow at the embouchure? That's what's being asked of the choir program.
So one of my questions, and I think you may be able to answer this,
Mm-hmm.
is one of my pieces and one of my hangups is one-to-one lessons. I will be completely honest with you.
Understandable.
That's a lot of time,
It
a lot of resources, and a lot of money. I mean, I would love to see like the cost of that versus the groups.
Mhm.
And my understanding is the bands do the small groups, so they'll do different instruments. Has choir looked at doing the sopranos and the altos and the
That is
bass?
the way.
And,
Mhm.
you know, and to do the lessons in that capacity versus individual lessons, because I have a hard time with individual lessons.
Well, here's how it works, and I've done this for nearly 20 years. Most lessons during the academic year, depending on where we are going from day one of school to the last day of school and what performances lie ahead. We work in groups of 4 to 6. And sometimes, though, it has to be 1 or 2 because voices are changing, especially in the middle school arena. 9 through 12, it's also often groups of 4 to 6. Again, depending on how many kids are in each soprano, alto, tenor, bass section. Solo ensemble contest season is different. From January until March, I do provide solo ensemble lessons. I used to. I squeezed them in over my lunch hours and during the what little prep time I did have this past school year. They need to be one-on-one because we are working on scoring a score-it contest. I want to make sure those fundamentals not only are there for students, but they could stand up and represent themselves vocally, but also have an intelligent conversation with a judge. Why did you do it this way? Why did you breathe there? Why did you get louder when you sang the end of your song? All that has to happen in one-on-one. We do solos, duets, trios, quartets, quintets, octets, and double octets at Solo Ensemble Contest. Each one of those events needs its undivided attention time in order to score well at contest. And that's not unusual. There are other schools that do that. I worked in a previous school many moons ago, and the K-12 population wasn't much bigger than this one, and that was afforded to us. But most of the year, we do groups of 4 to 6.
Thank you.
You're
I have
welcome.
a question too now on that, because you brought up band,
Yes.
and you went to A, B, and C without practice or what have you.
Mhm.
My daughter has decided to join band.
Mhm.
Have you guys thought, or do you do lessons outside the school year like band does that I pay for?
It has been something that I have thought about. There hasn't been much interest that has come to me individually. There hasn't been anyone who is in charge of me that has said, would you like to do that? However, I have taught in a private voice studio myself over the years. So there are some teachers, but not every kid can afford to do a lesson. And so, and that is something that the boosters have shared. Not every kid can afford that kind of a lesson. And so skills, just like in band or orchestra, skills must be maintained. The ideal world, I'd love to have those summertime lessons because the drop from the last day of school, the skill drop, we reinvent the wheel again in September. Voices have changed, puberty has happened, kids have done whatever with their voices over the summertime because it's real easy to damage them. I'd love that opportunity. Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to speak?
How many choir teachers are there? Is there another, or is it just Rita for?
We have a part-time one in the mill sheet.
Is there an option of, just throwing it out there, is there an option to increase the Gilbert person so there is no travel? Does she travel back and forth between Eveleth and Gilbert for choir?
I think we'll probably try to get into an area that I can't talk about.
Have we looked at, so one of the pieces too that I was kind of wondering as far as, for band and orchestra being offered in 5th and 6th, ever looking at offering choir for that too, as an alternative versus one of the band and orchestra?
We have not. participation in orchestra is almost down to nothing in recent years, so,
In those grades
period.
or period, okay. Because come seventh grade is when it's mandatory for them to select one of those 3 areas, correct? I think is what I got on my child's electives, okay.
And if I can say something, I guess I would like to know too, we want to go back to the referendum that was passed in 2011 to reinstate vocal music. If you look at the list of things that were promised or that would be brought back if the referendum passed, vocal music being one of them. So to me, that seems that at that point anyway, the district had a priority for vocal music coming back. And now it's the first target of reduction. And I get, what other reductions have taken place that have taken a hit like that from going from a full-time K4 person to a .23 K, 5-6 person. I mean, so basically that's what we've done. We've taken one full-time position, cut it down to a .23. So what have other areas of the school taken that kind of hit too? What's that?
Lots of them. We reduced spending by almost $1 million in the last 4 years. So,
The
yeah,
library took a huge hit.
library has taken an enormous hit.
Okay.
Our shop program was non-existent a year ago. We're just now bringing it back again, trying again. Just about every program that, well, you guys haven't been here, I'm looking at you, but there isn't hardly a program that hasn't been reduced because we have less students. I mean, it's just,
What was the student drop like from 2012 to now? Where were we at, like back in 2012?
I'd have to look, but I'm guessing in the neighborhood of 300.
300 students lost? And is a lot of that due to open enrollment?
Open enrollment, the number of kids that are open enrolled out have remained fairly static.
Okay.
There are less kids in this district, period.
What was it, 80 kids graduated this year, 60 are coming in?
Yeah, about 86 left and 60 came in. I mean, there's a loss of 24 right there and we didn't even do anything.
We didn't even do nothing, it's just birth rates.
Anybody else want to speak?
Well, I mean, you all heard from me once before. I laid it out the first time when I spoke and laid it out. Simple solution, reinstate Tony Lischuk's old job, the K through 4 position at a cost of about, I believe, about $40,000 to $45,000. There's money for that. She's stretched too thin. I firmly believe that. I believe she's doing a 1.73 FTE at a 1.0 FTE staffing. The simple solution is to reinstate Tony Lischuk's old K through 4 position, which frees her up to do the 5 through 12. The kids need to have the lessons that we're talking about here are basically equivalent to an athletic practice. We wouldn't send any of our athletic teams out to compete in a game or a region tournament unless they had had practice. The kids have to have ensemble practice with others to prepare themselves for the contests, which is the equivalent of the games in the athletic world. So these lessons we're talking about, I equivocate them to like an athletic practice. So, I mean, I'm not going to rehash what I talked about the first time that I spoke, but the simple solution is reinstate Tony Lischuk's old K through 4 position at a cost of about $40,000 to $45,000 in my analysis. That frees her up to do the 5 through 12.
Basically, we're looking at $40,000 to $45,000 to keep this program going. That's the
To
bottom line.
reinstate
To reinstate.
to
it.
reinstate
Yeah.
the K through 4 position where the body is just at the Franklin.
So do we have 1,500 minutes of music program time in K through 4
No,
for a full-time position?
we have 855.
I mean, I don't know, it doesn't look like, I mean, K through 4, I mean, that would be a lot of time, and there goes the computers, and there goes the physical ed, which I keep hearing from parents too, that we don't have enough gym time for our kids. I mean, I don't know if we have, I mean, it doesn't seem like there's enough time for a full-time K through 4,
I think they're asking.
as far
for
as,
full-time.
enough music stuff.
I don't think they're asking for a full-time. That's- But the point is that you're gonna find a half-time music teacher and then it's still an additional cost, no matter what.
Yes, it's still a budget
Right.
issue regardless, that administration would, I mean, yeah.
She needs relief. That's the reason why we've been here at all these meetings. She needs relief. She's very, very good, I believe. And most of you know me, I'm blunt. If she wasn't, I'd tell you. She's very, very good. And so I want to keep her, and we want the program to thrive. However it's staffed, however it's scheduled, she needs relief. She's running around like a chicken with her head cut off. She needs relief.
Anything else? All right, well, we're gonna move on then. What's wrong, Brian? Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about classroom technology. Just to give you a little history on where we're at, probably about 5 years ago, the district decided to go to a one-to-one program with iPads. Unfortunately, at that time, there was more thought into we needed to get iPads rather than will they work? And the answer to that question was no, they didn't. We didn't have the infrastructure at that time to properly run them, and we've had nothing but problems since I've been here. We have we applied for numerous grants in the last couple of years and have managed to upgrade our network. We have more gigabytes coming in now. We used to have 100 gigs coming in. Is it megs? Megs, sorry. I gotta watch myself with the tech guy here because he's in the track. We had 100 megs coming in, and now we have 300 coming in. So we have we've amped up our bandwidth considerably. We replaced a lot of the equipment in the closets, the switches, and we have expanded our Wi-Fi. We used to just have 2 access points per hallway, and now we pretty much have 1 in each classroom that's able to handle this. The unfortunate thing is now that we are in a position where we can use it, it's become outdated. So we have to talk a little bit about a couple of things. We've spent the better part of the year looking at different options for what we can and should do. One of the things that I want to show you right off the bat is our desktop, our teacher workstations have, they're all 5 years old now. They need to be refreshed. And the option that we're looking at is kind of a combination of saving, and this is all crunched onto a cart, but we're kind of saving on some stuff that we had adding to it. So we have, right now, basically every teacher has a stationary desktop with a keyboard and a monitor. We're looking at replacing that with a laptop, which will make them more mobile. The laptop can be used by, this is called a port replicator. So all the, like the menus, the projector, the second monitor, the keyboard, all that can be hooked up. So all of them, if the teacher decides to take it home or whatnot, there's a power cord and a USB that comes from this port replicator. So there's two plugs. Once they turn it on, I mean, they have the option to keep it closed and just use the monitor with the keyboard. They can get rid of the keyboard and use this keyboard. They can dual screen, they can have one thing operating on here, and they can also use this one. We had actually budgeted for this already, that was passed earlier. This comes out of our capital expenditure that can't be used for anything other than equipment. We had actually budgeted about $80,000 in that originally, and the quotes that are coming back with just basically the purchase that we're making is the laptop and the port replicator. The rest of the stuff we already have or recycle is about $45,000 right now. We have 3 quotes and it's ranging from 43 to 48.
Yeah.
So there's some money left there. Any questions on that? You got any comments?
Well, like Jeff mentioned, the monitors will be reused from our retiring Windows XP computer lab. And we're also doing this with the ease of staff in mind with the port replicator and also a secondary power adapter so that they can leave at home or take in a laptop bag so that nobody has to try to unbundle neatly wired cables every day to get their power adapter.
That's coming your way.
Is there any issues with teachers taking technology home like that though, or no?
No, and actually with the way Google is set up right now, I mean, you can basically access it anywhere that you have Wi-Fi, so.
So most of what we do is kind of a web-based or server-based stuff for the most part?
Right. So looking at, we looked at a number of options for student devices. One of the issues that we've had since starting was damage. We've had screen breakage. Not incredible, but I mean there has been a number of them. So we're kind of down on that. There have been some advances in cases. The one that I have here to show you also has a keyboard attached to it. It's a hard case. It can be dropped quite regularly and there isn't any damage to it. One of the things when we surveyed staff, one of the big uses that kids use it, in particular in the high school, is like word processing, making presentations and that, and which is on a regular iPad without the keypad is actually quite challenging typing on one. So moving to the keyboard kind of solved that problem a little bit, we're hoping. The accessibility of the new units is there's lots of new features that we'll get into in a bit.
Can the keyboard be undocked? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And if this kind of particular case option isn't preferable, there are a couple different just plug-in keyboards that are sold on the market. And we've got a few of them as well, but you know, typing on that one feels really good. Typing on both of these feel pretty good. And in my opinion, I'm not a teacher, but in my opinion, they're quiet. So if you have a classroom of kids typing all at once, it's not going to sound like a clickety-clackety factory.
So just want to show you some of the new features that we've been looking at. I think these are all connected to classroom.
You've got the classroom teacher one right there. So for demo purposes. place or file already?
Kinda looks like I'm already in there. Well, I have, I'll put this up. So one of the new features that Apple came out with this past year is called Apple Classroom. And you can just watch your screen and you'll be able to see what, I have the teacher iPad here. So some of the things that you can do is, with the Apple Classroom is when you have the kids have the iPads in front of them, you can control Safari should have popped up right now. Like if I want to go to a specific, if I want all the kids on I want them to see an article in the Massaga Daily News, I can just hit it and it'll come up on all computers, or all on iPads. If I want to change it to a different one, if I want everybody on our homepage, and you can see the reaction time is pretty quick. You want everybody to watch a video, pops up, all I have to do is hit play. A couple other things you can do with it, if you're doing stations, I mean, you can actually create groups. I don't know which each are called, but I can just put like 3 kids in to a group quick, and I can send one command to theirs, and I can send another command to the others. Couple other things, cool things about this, you can split screen these, the new ones, you can see up here. So, if I want to continue watching,
One thing while he's getting that going, if you notice the students, you can see the whole class up to, was it 35 kids at once, maybe 40.
oh, I should
And
actually show them.
The pictures of the sample class up there is everybody out there.
So I can, everybody that's up there, I can see, the teacher can see what it is you're doing on there, so if one of them strays, you can see, like, I don't know whose this is, but, and if I want to, I can, whoever it is, I can open up. I can put Eva's up on airplane. Go on. So whoever's that is would have to put the code in, and they can, you can put their screen up. All right, so I want to, say I want to send out assignment.
Not to reconnect yours to their
Oh.
family. There we go, back to yours.
Got it, yeah. So I'm going to share it. And you can see when I share, you can, my class will be up in the corner there. So I'm going to send everyone, and then there should be a little notification, you accept it. And you're going to open it up in Notability, it's third from the bottom. And yes, we're going to import that. And you guys have to sign in so you can. Oh, Mike's got it here, I got his sign.
Yeah, I came in online too.
Oh, there, okay. Where did it go?
As he's pulling that up, I want to clarify. This Apple Classroom is new this year, and it is and not supported on the current iPads that we have. So this isn't something we could adopt if we wanted to with our current fleet of iPads.
What would happen with all those iPads that we currently
We'll get
have?
to that, I mean, we're gonna sell them back. Well, if everyone was signed in, why didn't it?
We had signed in on some
Let
of
the
those.
process
Somebody
happen.
was signed in.
Well, I mean, if you were selling back, it'd be decent, you know,
Oh, I didn't hear about it.
you know,
I'm going up to
sell them all
the-
right, why don't we sell them all right?
Oh, I see. We would have to sign in everyone's Google account, but anyway, you can put that up and if you open it in the Nearpod, you can actually write with your finger the answers to it, and you can send it back to me, and I would then I could see, like this is an example of what I did earlier. You can see up here, this worksheet that I got, and we just did it with the fingers and sent it right back to me, so I can check it, and or I could put it up on the screen for everyone to see, we can correct it, whatever have you. Any other features of Classroom that we should go through? Gonna cover
I
it?
don't think we mentioned that when you can open an app on the Classroom's iPads, you can lock it to that app as well, so.
Yeah,
If you
I mean,
notice somebody
if you
playing a
wanna- if
little
you wanna send out-
extracurricular.
Like if I wanted to send out a keynote to everybody, little John, like if Mike decided that he was gonna play Angry Birds, you can actually lock it so that he can't, I mean, everybody's, and that's the neat feature of the Classroom is the teacher has control over what's going on now, whereas before they did not. So I mean, this is a big one. We also wanted to, what's that?
One thing as, if, for example, it's busy in the classroom and the teacher is working on an app and locked everybody into a certain thing, bam, the bell rings, kids leave, oh no, they're locked. Well, after they get more than 10 feet away from the classroom, I believe it was,
30 feet away from the,
from the home, for the teacher's device, then it unlocks.
So they won't be locked.
It's just a neat little feature, I thought.
Yeah, Jeff,
You're-
I'm next.
you're next?
Yes, Todd and I are going to be showing a couple apps that are popular in the schools right now. And one of the apps is called Kahoot, so I'm just going to show you a little bit about Kahoot. So I'm the classroom teacher at this time, and I want everybody to do a Kahoot lesson with me. So I'm going to hit open, and I'm going to lock everybody in. So down on the bottom where it says lock in app after opening. And then I'm going to, these are all the apps that teachers can choose from, and we can add more if they need more on here if they're not listed. So, okay, I gotta scroll down and find Kahoot.
Oh.
There it is. So click on Kahoot.
Notice she pushed it out to all 32 iPads in the group as well.
So, but
Oh,
we
it
only
should be
have
open now
5 of
anyway.
you available for right now. So I'm going to, then I'll show you I'm gonna do that split screen, so I'm gonna move it over. And I need to find Kahoot. I can do this on the iPad, or I can do it on my laptop, or I can do it on my desktop. But just to show here, I'm gonna search for Kahoot.
So a quick question while she's working on this. So this control of the students' iPads and everything can happen via the laptop? So they don't have to just be using, the teacher doesn't have to be on their iPad, they can be sitting at their desk doing this as well?
Control of that has to go through the teacher, yeah.
Would have been really nice.
So laptops are gonna be PCs.
Yes.
And we're gonna be able for them to communicate a little bit.
As far as communicating with this stuff,
But the docs will be shared.
the docs will be shared, it'll be similar, and we'll go through that.
We'll get to that in a bit.
So these are some of the ones that I've duplicated. There's 1,000 Kahoot lessons out there. And I even searched roles of school board members, and it actually came up that there was roles of a school board member on here. But I just created my own very quickly here called Eveleth-Gilbert School Board, so I'm gonna hit play. And this could be review for the class, and it's a good formative assessment to kind of guide how you guys are learning. If you're getting the concepts or not, it's a quickly way to gauge that. So I'm gonna hit the classic. I'm gonna hit start. And all of you have to type that code in, so go ahead and hit play now. And then you're gonna put the game pin number in, which is up there, 936652. And there is a little music playing, and I can turn that down.
You have to then type in wrong name,
Yep.
whatever you want to put.
And then you can type in a nickname or
Together, Tom. Hey,
or
T.
your name.
Aaron.
And with this, you can put a group of 4 students together, or 3, you can create teams. And on my screen, you can see I have an M, I have a KT, I have a BL, and I have a Mike. So I'm waiting for the 5th one. Okay, so now I know I have all 5 of my students in. So you're gonna get some questions, and it's gonna show up on there, and then on your screen, you have to type the correct answer to it. And you'll get 10 seconds, and that can be adjusted. I could have put it for 20 seconds, 15 seconds. Who is the superintendent of the Eveleth-Gilbert Public Schools? And your choices, the red is Angie Williams, the blue is Todd Griffin.
4 seconds, 4 seconds, 3.
You're gonna choose one.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, and then you have instant results, so I know that, okay, I don't have to reteach that topic because 4 people out of 5 got it correct, so that one has been taught. And there's just 3 more questions, and it will tell us the scores. And sometimes, if kids don't like to play because if they get a lot wrong, they don't want their name up there, the teacher can hand out like student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, so the teacher can keep track of it, and then somebody's not embarrassed if they get them wrong.
See, just as a little side note, you missed it, but all these are in real time, and you can see where everybody is. And whoever that one was down there, she could have seen that it was a little behind.
5 seconds. Cindy, Anthony, James, Stuart.
What's his middle name?
And if you don't answer, then just what comes as well.
Yeah, you get it wrong. 2 more. And we can see the score there. Where is our next school board meeting going to be at?
10 seconds,
I
man.
keep looking
Anyways,
elsewhere.
EG.
Good switch.
I keep looking for the answers here.
Maybe I'll make it bigger so you guys can see it.
There you go.
That's the nice thing about the split screen.
Everybody got it correct. Good job.
Okay.
One.
Well, we got 1 more left.
Why don't they put the answers on the screen here?
Yeah, there may be a way to do it,
I think
but,
there's a way to synopsis of that.
yeah. The Eveleth-Gilbert School Board meeting starts at what time?
Depends on who you ask.
10 seconds, 5 seconds.
So here you can see who had 4 out of 4. Whoever was in.
The kids love this, by the way. I saw Kahoot in action in one of the classrooms. This year it was a 6th grade classroom. They were eating it up.
Oh,
So.
those would be my thing.
All right, go ahead, go do it in your phone.
So this app, I mean, how much do they charge you for this app?
This one's
Free.
free.
That one's free.
It's free, yep. And then now we will unlock it here. But if we didn't unlock your iPads, like they said earlier, you walk to the next class, Mr. Chad's class, it'll automatically unlock after you're a certain feet away. So
What
you
did
don't
you already
have to
do?
come back. I did not unlock, so we want to unlock. Yep, now you did. So now
All right, so I did a little Nearpod here. And it's another activity that you can do on the iPads. It's one of many. Well, you guys see it? So now I'm gonna have my screen up here, and we're gonna restart this here. We practiced earlier. All right, so we're gonna do a little field trip report tonight. So you should be all seeing this on your screen.
They have to
No,
log in
do we
first.
log in?
Yep.
Maybe the lens plus
Log in
code.
with
As
your.
soon as
Log in with
as soon
your
as I
lesson.
hit my code here,
Okay.
I'll let you in. NEDBX,
So you go log in with Nearpod and then type that in.
should be right on the screen. Yep, NEDBX.
Username or email, or no?
No.
So
It
go
should just
back
be
with that arrow.
NEDBX on the login.
Oh, right there. So you didn't have to log in, just where it was yellow.
Yeah, where it says enter code, sorry.
Yeah, so go back. Arrow, the arrow on the top left, and then that's where you enter the code. Yep, that's where you put NED.
And you'll have to enter a nickname as well on this
Oh,
one.
you have to enter the nickname?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, is that the response for code? Okay, yeah.
NEDBX, so let's make sure everybody gets in here.
They're all there.
Okay, everybody's there. So what you're seeing now is a picture of Mars. And if you pick your iPad up or swipe your finger across the screen, you can do a 360-degree view. I'm gonna close this up, so-
Oh, that's cool.
You know, a 360-degree view of this particular space on Mars. I did a little tour of Mars and it took a little quiz and everything on here earlier today. I thought it was a little lengthy for us to do as a whole board, so you can just kind of see, I just grabbed that off the internet and there it was.
That is super cool.
Now, as you see, I want a little activity. This is the art class. Today, each of you has some icons on the bottom of your screen. You can figure out how to use it
You want to draw
and
down?
draw a picture of me
I'm no artist.
and submit it. Jason's the best artist of us four.
Yes, we did right next to that.
Put your mic down right away.
Here's Mike, and I don't have to have this projected up on the screen, but I am for these purposes.
I wanted to get him from here.
Should be coming in. Did you get some?
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, this is up there.
There you go, yes.
Sorry.
I could go with each.
Your ears were bigger than I planned.
I could do it each particular one, and if I want to share mics with the whole group, I just pull it up and click the share button, and there it is, so. I can unshare it, I can close mic, and we can scroll through all the pictures. Thank you very much. Let's get you out here on that one. I don't know what that is, a cat maybe? Very good. So that's just another activity, and I can or don't have to show the names on the screen as well. I just swipe over to the next screen. We have a little quiz this evening. What color is Mr. Griff's shirt this evening? And you have to look at me, that's fine. Or you want to get it on, you can do that too.
That's not it, I don't even know what color.
There's,
It's green shirt. Oh, purple,
Don't
right?
cheat,
the
don't
plaid
give me
option.
Don't overanalyze, Kelly. It's green.
no.
Incorrect.
You're overanalyzing.
So anyway, there's green, I think it's mostly green in the shirt anyway, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, this is just kind of the idea of how you could use a quiz in the class. I can share the results with you. So now on your screen will come up the pie chart. So look at your screen and go back again. I can share it or unshare it with everybody. And that's just a quick, simple Nearpod activity. So,
It's instant feedback, so it's good for
Super
homework
nice.
assessment, yeah.
yep.
So I'm gonna show you a little bit, and I could pass this out to everybody if I wanted these two to do an activity on IXL. Oh, it's not even. What this app is called is IXL. This is a remedial program for both math and language arts. It has almost every grade, every subject. I have math up right now, but if I wanted like third grade math activities and wanted to look at addition, just hit practice now. So it'll give me, I don't even know, that's too hard for me.
882.
Huh?
882.
882, you better be right.
82.
There's immediate feedback, but a teacher can, like I said, you can assign groups. I could send it out in Apple Classroom. I could have these three doing some of this. I could assign a different activity for a different group. This is Great Green Stations. We use this now, actually. A lot of the elementary teachers use it now as a remediation. I mean, if there's an area in math where the teacher's feeling like the kids just didn't get it, I mean, it's pretty much in here. I mean, and it hits all of the Minnesota standards for every grade.
Is this gonna be all classroom level and, classroom level, I mean, is administration gonna be able to compile any of this data, or is it more of a teaching aid?
This is a teaching aid.
So it's not a testing level where we can get collaborative results or something, this is all just a classroom level?
Yep. So, I mean, you can see there's activities for every standard and every grade. So it's just, I just wanted to show you real briefly, another activity that can be used on here. What's next? All right. Well, I want to talk a little bit about Google too. So, one of the things that is a great, are you guys logged in?
Yeah, well. Just on my device.
Google?
Since these aren't our iPads, we just demonstrated
Yeah, one
our
of the
actual
things
iPads.
these are demonstration iPads from Apple, so we can't log into Google to show you. But I just wanted to set up. So I'm gonna make a new document called sample. And this is just, this is like Microsoft Word. And then I'm going to share this with Todd, and Angie, and Jason. I'm going to allow them over here. I can either have them, edit, or they can just view it. If I just want to send them a document that they can view, that's all I have. In this case, I'm going to have them edit it. I'm going to hit send, and then in a couple seconds, via email, they will get notification that I have shared a document with them.
There's a lot of times how we have paperless meetings throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, I can set a doc, and
This is like sharing the docs like you do with your board members, isn't it?
Yeah, you can click on
so
that.
it's editable.
Yeah.
Collaborate together. Right.
So, I mean, groups of students, because all of our students have a Google account, we can pass these out and have collaboration meetings. Along with the docs, there is a Sheets, which is comparable to Microsoft Excel, and they also have Slides. Slides is the program that I use when you see my report at board meetings. The three of us actually share it and add input into it. So another great tool. The other great thing about all the Google suite is a thing called Google Drive. Anytime, like if I have this document open, I've named it, it's in my Google Drive. It saves automatically. There's no hitting save to, save where. It's automatically in my drive, which, just to give you an example of what that looks like. So I have multiple folders. There's the one that has the board agenda in it. So all of the 16, 17 agendas, they're all right there. I can grab them right away if I want to look at what we did in January. It's right there. I mean, so kids can organize that stuff. Teachers can also, as they're getting documents in from Apple Classroom, whatever, they can have it more into Google Drive. And it's a great tool for education. It's all free. We don't pay for that. All right. Also want to talk a little bit about Power School, because we have, in the last couple of years, the board has allowed us to make some significant upgrades to Power School. In the last couple of years, we're now accepting credit cards for payments. We are almost done with getting all of our transportation through Power School. We have set up all of our behavior, which will be online and running. We showed it to staff this past winter, but it'll be up and running this fall, where any behavior referrals will come through Power School, give us a immediate notification. Also sends an email home to parents once that's made. I logged in as my kid, just an example of what kids can look at in Power School. There's a dashboard, and the unfortunate thing about right now in the summer, Power School's shut down, so you won't get any data. But you can see that kid wants to see the grades. The final grades are in there. Any assignments from any of the teachers, it's all there for them. If anything's missing, they didn't hand something in or whatnot, their attendance is ready for them, the schedule is available to them. And it'll be all that stuff is right on their calendar. We don't actually have the school map on there, but.
Lunch balance.
Lunch balance. Some of the things that are coming, all of our staff members, and I mean all of our staff members, will have a Power School account besides the teachers. We're in the process of putting all of our forms online, so like our leave forms, our time off, overtime, any type of request, maintenance requests, all that stuff is going to be run through Power School now, so you'd have to log in, fill out the form quick, and it goes to the right person when you get sent. And it goes into our Google Drive then, so it's all that's saved and there's records of it. We're not fumbling around with paper, so there's pretty cool things coming with Power School by the time we start school. Jason's been great at tracking that stuff down and making sure it's happening, so he's been a great addition for that as well.
iMovie.
iMovie. You gonna do iMovie? Just another example of an app that's out there that's really useful in the see if this is right. Yeah, that's connected to. One of the nice things about the newer ones, this is actually a 4-year-old iPad that I carry around. Lots of that stuff was happening. I mean, if you came in and out of AirPlay off that, it would get logged up so you couldn't. But I mean, these things are very responsive, as you can see from the Apple Classroom. So real quick, when kids are making presentations, this is an app called iMovie. It's actually an Apple app. So it can be done by taking video and or photos. So I just took 4 quick photos. I can drop them in. Just like that, I mean, if something's ready to play, I'm going to do the presentation. Done.
Where's the music?
You can set it, yeah, you can set it to music if you want. You can add in video clips. I mean, it's a very easy, user-friendly tool. Kids just love it. All right. Think we're bored enough? Huh?
Well, I've got a couple of statistics about our current iPad fleet, just to kind of see where we're coming from. Our current iPad fleet is comprised of some iPad 2s and iPad Air first generations, which are now, the iPad 2s were end of life coming into this past school year. And with the release of these new iPad 5th generations, the iPad Airs are no longer being supported by Apple. And then a combination of iPad minis first or second generation, out of a total of 4 that they've released. Apple doesn't announce when they'll be on end of life, but this fall there'll be a whole new model of iOS coming out, and there's a chance that they might not be supported there. So these are the 5th generation iPads, and the oldest that we have working right now are iPad 2s, just for some context. Thank you.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about early outs again. We've gone through what they are, when they would be. How it would be handled. We kind of sat down, and one of the big things is if the board decides to go in this direction, one of the major components of its success is going to be training our staff to do it. Big hole in the program in the last 4 years. So, as you can see, this is a sample calendar of kind of what we're looking at. We do have 3 days before school starts on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. There are some required things that we have to do during those days. Of course, on Wednesday, we go to the region-wide professional development summit over in Virginia, with most of the other range schools. That Thursday is our open house. One of the things that we're planning on doing, because we have done so much with Power School, we're going to set up stations. We do actually get pretty good attendance for the open house in all the buildings. So we're going to set up stations and make sure that we get parents logged in to Power School so they understand how to use it, give them some training. But that day is pretty much taken up with getting the classroom ready and an open house. We would look at on that Tuesday, basically laying out, this is where we're at. If we decide to go it this way, the question is always, what happens if somebody decides they don't want to use it? And that simply isn't going to be an option for us if we're going to invest this much time and effort and resources into this. So basically laying that out, training them on how to use because there are some changes. They're going to be going from Windows 7 on the old units to a Windows 10, so it's going to be a little different environment for them. So we'll do some training on that. If we're thinking about, we cut out. If we were going to possibly looking at Schoology, which we did not show you tonight, but it's basically a workflow app that's mostly used in 712 applications. It's kind of similar to the Apple Classroom we showed you, in that we can pass assignments out, we can take them back in. The major feature to Schoology that Apple Classroom doesn't have is it talks with Power School. So if you can correct an assignment on the iPad, and it directly correlates right into the gradebook. So it's just bang, bang, done. So looking at some of the early outs, I mean, we're early on, we've got to make sure that staff knows how to use the equipment that's in the room. Looking at Schoology, those first couple days, Power School upgrades that we've done, and more Power School. Power School is going to, being that it's going to be so much more robust, it's going to take people some time to get adjusted. Some people will pick up on it right away, others won't. We have to make sure that we bring everybody along. Next one up would be the Google Suite, making sure that everybody knows how to use that, because it's going to be an integral part of our program. Basically everything that we're doing funnels in through Google, and everything's saved in the Google Drive. We also, once a month, we want to make sure that we get grade level meetings. Part of the part of our overall staff development program is making sure that teachers have time to meet with their departments, grade levels, to discuss what others are doing, discuss data, what they need to do differently. In this first session, we're actually looking at teacher and student goal setting. One of the things that we did this past year was we set goals for all of our kids as far as MCA goes. We sat down with most of the kids that we really needed to make sure that we improved, and decided, why does that keep kicking up? And tried to get them to understand the importance of doing well, and we set goals for them, and it actually worked out pretty well, so we want to do that a little earlier in the year. This last Wednesday here is before the holiday, so we want to, at this point, we want to evaluate what we're doing too. If teachers are feeling that we're wasting their time, we would need to go in a different direction, or if they need more of something, that type of thing. So we want to be constantly evaluating how this is going as well, being that it is a new program for us. So we're looking past that. This Monday is on our calendar as a full staff development day. We have it blank right now. We actually, if we go with this program, Apple actually will send a representative that day to work with our teachers in small groups. They'll send several people out because everybody's going to be at a different level. Going further, looking at Google Sheets, docs, and slides, how to incorporate those into the classroom, how to use them. Again, grade level meetings, then Google Sheets. Follow-up, being that Google is such an integral piece, we want to make sure that we spend some time on that. Looking at the accessibility, it's one of the things that we didn't show you, but there's some pretty major improvements in the iPad accessibility as far as reading, making sure that documents are, some kids have a hard time reading on a white background, so you can switch it to black, that kind of thing. This SAMR model technology, do you know what that stands for?
Substitute, augment, augmentation.
Basically what it is it's teaching, it's a program teaching teachers how to move into a paperless classroom. You have to ask yourself why and how. I mean, if you're a teacher who is largely worksheet based, if you're a math teacher, is this going to be an improvement? That just to ask you questions like that. How can I make this more interesting for students? That kind of thing. Grade level meetings again. Then we start into a lot of individual apps. Some of the stuff that we showed you tonight, the iMovie, Kahoot, Nearpod, the iExcel, those kinds of things. Looking at showing staff that. Also, early February, looking at testing plans, grouping kids for testing, making sure that those goals are solid after half a year. And then for the rest of the year, I mean, we're basically looking at various other uses of the iPad. I mean, coding is huge now. The Swift Playground is also, it's a new Apple app that is basically for coding, teaches younger kids coding. And then toward the end of the year, we're looking at professional growth goals again for our teachers. We want to make sure that the goals that we set at the beginning of the year, if they're getting to them. And then finally, doing an evaluation. I mean, how did it go this year? Was it useful for people? Can we do things differently? I think that evaluation piece is just huge all the way along the way. Let's see. Hit her? All right. All right, here's the big question. This has got to be expensive, Jeff. You're right, it is. So we have some options in front of us. I'll try to make it a little bigger for you. First thing up on top is selling back our current fleet. I don't have exact numbers on how many of each we have, but you can see dollar amounts. We have, this is actually from April, so it's a little old now. But we just, as an example, sent out our numbers of how many we had of each model. And you can see the high end, we're worth about $110,000. The board would have to approve that sale, if that's the direction that we wanted to go in. As current policy would say that we have to make it available to public members. Doubtful that we're going to be able to sell 1,000 iPads to anyone around here. These buyback companies are, I don't know what they do with them when they get them, but this is the way lots of school districts are going right now. So there is that.
So how much are they giving you per iPad then?
Depends on what the model is. Could be anywhere from, what was it, Jason, $80 to maybe $115.
Yeah, and they grade it based on condition. And I could say even one of the companies, if they grade the iPad at a D, it's about 50% value. So we don't have our entire fleet at a D grade. We have plenty of iPads that are in good condition, but even at the absolute low end, we're looking at $55,000.
So,
I
looking
mean,
at,
so you send these in and they're gonna make the determination?
Yes.
yep,
So, I mean, so it's perhaps is what you're saying, you send them in and they're gonna tell you what you're gonna get paid,
mhm.
Yep.
based on their opinion.
New equipment, looking at if we buy one for everybody, all staff members who need one, and looking at grades 1 through 12. And how would that work? We're sending them home with first graders? No, we're not. We are looking at right now classroom sets for grades 1 through 6, and sending them home 7 through 12. We spent an inordinate amount of time on that topic, deciding what's best. And given the workflow in grades 7 through 12, handing out assignments, expecting them to come back, pretty tough to keep them in class if you're expecting anything outside of school. And all that can be done without the student needing wireless internet at home. Those assignments can be handed out, downloaded while they're here at school. They can be done at home, they can be completed at home and then handed in when they get back to school. So if we look at it in terms of and this might not be the particular one because it's blue, I told them we're not buying blue. But in terms of this 7 through 12, one of the major functions being keyboarding. This case itself is about $100. The iPad is $300. So all these iPads are $300. The case itself is $100, like this, the way it is. So looking at 7 through 12 and all staff members having the case with the iPad. And then another additional $340 for with just the soft cover, which would be something like this. In the classrooms, they aren't going home. It's about $380,000. There's a couple ways to do that. You can pay it up front, which the district did the last time around, or you can lease. If we took the lease option and sold them back, you're looking at, and these numbers aren't accurate because these numbers here don't include sell back. I mean, that's just outright, because we don't necessarily know that number for sure, obviously. But it could be, if we did a 3-year lease, and at the end of that 3-year lease, you own them, you can sell them back again. It's about $91,000 a year for a 3-year, if we get a good buyback. I gotta look for something.
So if you lease these things for 3 years, are they gonna be responsible for like any software updates, or who's responsible for that?
Through our MDM, we can manage the updates and the software, push applications and such.
And who's got, at no charge, right?
The MDM charge, we use a company called Jamf, it used to be called Casper. The group ideal, I believe that we're in right now with a bunch of other area schools, it's $4 per device.
We're currently paying that.
Yeah, we have that for our current fleet.
So the lease option would be about 91,000 for each year for the 3 years?
For 3 years, yeah. All right, so here's kind of where we're at with our, and this is out of 302, this is our capital expenditures. So we get about $161,000 a year from the state for capital expenditures, that's equipment. Yeah. This year we've already approved 140,000. Of that 140,000, which leaves about 20,000 left. Of that 140,000 that was approved already by the board, 80,000 of that was for these workstations, which the actual that came back is about, it's probably gonna be 43, but I put 45 in there for a difference of 35,000. So if you take what we haven't accounted for yet, plus the 35,000, we're looking at about $54,000 of budget that's available left in the equipment, and we still have a little bit left in the tech set aside. That puts us at about 67,000. We're still looking at what the board would have to approve. We're still about 23,600 short if we went with the lease.
That's year one.
Year one. Year two, we would budget 302 differently. We wouldn't.
What, 302 can be used for everything capital? Don't we have a technology fund, or is that just?
That's part of that. Yeah. Yeah, basically all of our equipment that we buy comes out of 302. We get $160,000 a year. And that's not every year, it's based on student count too. It's a percentage of it.
Is there a plan for the workstations for the teachers on a rotation plan where we're not getting hit with a large cost every few years?
Well, we did talk about that.
Well, that should be part of this conversation too, because here we are, 4 or 5 years later.
Yeah, we've chosen not to spend a lot of money in that area, and we've been buying other pieces of equipment instead with that. We shouldn't wait 5 years, I guess. But at the same time, we actually did spend some time talking about buying 20 this year, 20 next year, and doing that kind of thing. But the unfortunate thing for like him, I mean, it is really nice to have 60 of the same units rather than 20 of these, 20 of those, and 20 of that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're looking at just replacing the whole fleet of iPads too. I mean, we do have a few that we probably could use, maybe 100, 200. But the reality is, it's just, if they're all the same, it makes his life way easier.
So if we do the 1 year lease, we sell back at 50%, we're gonna have a surplus of 22,000 after year one.
Nope.
Because we'll get 55,000 back on the sell back, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So that would cover that 23,000
And give us a surplus of
difference.
22.
Well, no, because I'm accounting for that 91,000 that I'm telling you for year one lease. That's with a buyback.
That's with
Okay.
buyback already? Okay.
Yeah, if we did not do a buyback, it's 127 in year one. So, anyway, questions, thoughts? That was kind of long, but.
I mean, in a nutshell, I think we need a long-term sustainable plan if we're gonna invest this type of, I mean, this goes in tandem with the early outs. I mean, that's a huge investment, not necessarily just for the district, but for our community.
Yep.
In tandem with technology, which is a huge capital investment. I mean, what's the long-term sustainable plan? In 3 years, if we're broke, what's all this gonna mean? You know, when it's all obsolete and we can't keep it current or renew it, or, you know, whatever the conversation is. Today we have cash to do it. In 3 years, where's it gonna be? You know what I'm trying to say?
I know what you're saying.
We need a plan to keep this going, which we didn't 4 or 5 years ago, you know?
Okay.
And I think that should be the key to all this conversation is, you know, what's that plan going forward, other than year one and year two? We can afford it today, but how do we sustain it over time with a deficit budget?
Yeah, and that's a very large question that's looming over a lot of things. Even the discussion we had earlier tonight, I mean, that problem could be solved by fixing
And that's what I think needs to always come back to this board, is we need to make bigger decisions so we can provide music for our students and technology for our kids and continuing education for our teachers. This, we always keep coming back to that conversation, and it just, we never get anywhere with it, you know? I mean, I'd love to.
But what are the bigger decisions?
We have too much space.
Figuring out what we're gonna do with the campus and buildings, period. I mean, one way or the other, regardless of the decision, once we make a decision,
As a
it
businessman,
guides our future.
as a businessman, it makes absolutely no economic sense to spend $130 million to save $1 million a year.
But how else do you say that?
But regardless though of the decisions of what happens with the buildings or the campuses or two places versus one, regardless of whatever we decide, okay, and whatever our community decides on supporting, it's still, because we're not making a decision on it one way or the other, it impacts all the other planning that we have to do. And we continue to be presented with situations like in the safety committee, with situations on the ball fields and everything else that, do we spend the money, do we not spend the money? Because we don't know what our future holds. We have to start making some decisions to allow us to make better decisions all around for everything else going forward. So regardless of the decision, but I'm a firm believer, decisions have to be made. Because it does impact.
Right, because if
Our
we made a
current-
decision one way or another, we could say yes or no today.
I believe we
Nope.
should fix what we got, fix what we
I mean,
got.
yeah, I'm not even saying
Renovate
one
what
way
we
or the
have.
other. Yeah, I'm not even saying one way or the other. I'm just saying,
But
we have to make a decision on it so we can go forward with everything else. So,
Any other questions on what you just saw? I got one more little thing that I wanna bring up, well, two. One, our roof bid, if you remember back, we had about $480,000 in the extra FIB grant left, and our roof bid came in at about $150. So there is we gotta do some stuff, we got to prioritize, and we'll have another session soon, once we get a list together, and have to decide what we want to do. We have some ideas now, but we have to put some prices to it, so you guys can make a decision. And then the other thing, so you're aware, and this could be part of that, about a week ago, we had a lightning strike in this area, didn't necessarily hit the school, but it did severely impact the school and the electrical systems. Our security system right now is beyond goofy. Most of the doors are not working currently. There's just a few doors here in the high school that are working. But what's more troubling than any of that is we're getting random alarms that go off in the middle of the night, right, Angie? That,
On Saturday.
yeah, it's just goofy, and if it was just us, it'd be one thing. I mean, me and Mike are used to it, but me and Mike are not getting called, and the police department and the fire department are, and they're coming out and the doors don't work and they can't get in to do searches. We've had a contractor out here the last 3 days, and the company that installed it actually has been here the last 2, and they have been unsuccessful in figuring out why it doesn't work. His best guess is we have equipment that got blown out. We have electronic equipment that is no longer functional, and that could be an expense that's coming your way pretty soon.
Wouldn't it be covered in insurance?
Could be,
Should be.
but we don't know necessarily the cause, so we would investigate that first, I'm sure. Could have been a coincidence that happened, I
With
think.
respect to it's a hardware issue.
We're suspecting we have a hardware issue. So I just wanted to make you aware that that is happening. I know that the Eveleth Fire Department is pretty frustrated with us right now, because they've been out here numerous times in the middle of the night trying to get in. And when they get called, they have to look to see if there's actually a fire or not. So, that's all I have for tonight.
Did you ever get together with Mike?
Yep,
Did he put together a list of the projects and all that should be done before the start of the new school year?
yep. I don't have it on me, but I will send it out.
Do you have a copy of this now?
I will send it out. I don't have it with me.
You know, when it comes to this ARI getting up 8% to make a phone call and having no, and you guys, and the board of the school not having, you know, how much liability they're gonna be accountable for in the job. I contacted a couple of school board members in Virginia in regards to how they handle their projects. Well, the building and grounds guy just calls up and gets bids and that's it. Paying ARI 11%, or 8% to make a phone call is ridiculous.
It wasn't a phone call, I mean,
Well, I know, but
they
still,
drew up the bid specs for us, I mean, I don't have anyone.
I know, but wouldn't Jamar or Range Cornish know what, if either the building and grounds guy took him up on the roof and says what we want done? You know, on the roofs?
How would we know though that? How would we know if they're telling us what we should know?
I'm just saying, I just think.
I'm not telling you that.
No, I'm just saying paying somebody 8% to run somebody up there when we have a buildings and grounds person that was perfectly capable of doing the same thing.
I don't think it was the same thing.
Okay. And that could have been a nice cost savings.
Anything else, anyone else? Thank you. Good job tonight.